Evening, everybody. There is a 87% chance that I've forgotten something. Actually, probably greater chance than that. But we're going to see if we can get the simulator to load here. I know I'd forgotten to start track IR. I'm kind of hoping that starting it late will still work. Otherwise, we're stuck without it, which would be a real bummer, because it's just short of flying in VR, having something like track IR is almost like a necessity. Let me turn off my stream decks. Blank, blank, blank. Good. Oh, go away, menu. Hey. Really? Okay. It is taking its very sweet time to load here, which is never ideal, but also always expected. Can you see the joystick on the camera at all? No. Really need to find a better way to place this camera here. I need to put it on like a... I need a drone. Thanks, Donovan. I will. I think we're flying away from Sam, but we'll give him a shout out. Okay, good. Track IR is working, as you can see by the fact that we're sitting outside of the the cockpit here. All right, that's good. Let's pause that for 1 second, and oh no, I light. Let's not do that. Let's get the airplane fueled up. That is step number 1. And while we're doing that, I just want to take a quick peek at VatSim to see if there's any coverage. There is not. Maybe we will turn it on anyway and see if we get some along the way. Depending on how we do with the plane here, because last time we had some small issues. So let's try to load up our plan here from SimBrief. Yankee Mike Mike Lima to Yankee Papa Alpha Delta. Weather is, it is warmish. It's not great. It's not sunny. I also forgot to load the Qantas livery, so we're flying a WestJet airplane, which I made myself. Well, painted it myself. What is this? How much fuel do we want? How much fuel do we need? We need block fuel 6751. 6751. Let's load that in. Let me get my ACAR started real quick, connect that, start that flight. I'm not going to use the co-pilot today, I don't think. I think I'm going to just do this myself. If I can remember. I do have my checklist here, but I feel like I can probably remember most of this myself. External power. This is the new dev version of the fly-by-wire. We'll get the ADIRs aligned, get our oxygen flowing, and that's it. Well, we'll get the let's get the APU going right away. What am I missing? APU auto shutdown master switch off, but the master switch has a fault because the batteries are off. Oh, that's right, of course. I always forget that because that's what the Copilot does. Otherwise, I don't even have a button for that over there. Okay, how about we turn the batteries on? We'll try the master switch again. Okay, I think we just had to wait for that to clear. Okay, flap open. There we go. Now the APU is spinning up. Excellent. Qantas 449. Let's do, what did we call it? Qantas 648. Thanks for the follow, Woods Leader 561. OJ, welcome aboard. Maybe I should use my checklist, eh? Alright, 8 ears, 1, 2, 3 are set to nav, oxygen crew supplies on, beacon not yet, seatbelts, we can do seatbelts. No smoking sign, exit lights armed, APU master switch on, it is started, APU is on, and at 100%, so we can turn external power off then. Running on the APU now. Let's set our altimeter, not to standard. Is our local altimeter 1021? Okay. Now, over to our flight panel here, and I'm actually using the I don't know if you can see that on the camera. You kind of see it over here. I think it's turned on, stupid low light correction again, so it's a little bit choppy on the camera, but actually using my Cockpit Master CDU, which is just so much more enjoyable to have actual buttons. Our flight plan initialized here. That all in. That's good. I keep forgetting. We need to actually load the passengers. Let's get the passengers aboard. That's kind of important. Send request. Start boarding. And this is new in the latest dev version. Not super new, but a couple of weeks new. You actually get cabin noises now from the flight deck, which is kind of cool. Our flight plan has now been loaded in. So we are going to depart. Nope, it's not there. Why? Yeah, departure runway 16. We are using the Nevis 7. Oh, wrong button. Nevis 7 departure. No transition, insert that. That looks like a fun departure. And then at our destination, which may change, our arrival is going to be, we are doing ILS 23 Yankee with the Drin 9 Zulu. Arrival via Gully. Via Gully. Insert that. Okay. Looking through this, this all looks good. I'm going to move this up here. Nope, not that, never mind. I'm rather going to clear this flight plan discontinuity, and we're going to clear this and this. I know that's not how you're supposed to do it, but we don't really have ATC, so we're just going to clean out these discontinuities. The rest all looks good. In fact, we should have been able to see this on our plan mode. Yeah, so we take off, make a right turn, pretty much a straight northwest line, and then we get into our arrival. And it is a left turn into the approach onto runway 23. We have got a flaps 1 takeoff. Set our V speeds 132, rotate 133, and V2 is 137. Let's have a quick look outside. Yeah, see, we seem really out of place. There's a beautiful 380 or whatever that is, Qantas, but we've got the little WestJet Spirit of Canada because I forgot, like a moron that I am, to load in the Qantas livery from last time. But that's how it is. Sometimes mistakes are made. And reloading the game just takes too long. So let's get our beacon on. Let's get our
flight attendants, arm doors, and cross-check.
cockpit door locked. Predictive wind shear
Ladies and
system.
gentlemen from the flight deck, on behalf of myself, your captain, the first officer, and cabin crew, I'd like to take this time to welcome you aboard our flight. We're just wrapping up some paperwork up front here and waiting to receive final numbers from the ground crew, then we'll be on our way. Flight attendants will be coming through the cabin shortly with a very important safety briefing. We do ask that you give them your full, undivided attention as they review the safety
APU
operations
bleed
of this Airbus aircraft.
and fuel
We do
pumps.
appreciate your business having
That
you
means
aboard
we
this
are
flight.
now
If
ready
anything we do to make this
for
flight any more enjoyable, please don't
pushback,
hesitate to ask.
and
Welcome aboard.
going to use the. I'm going to do a manual pushback.
Cockpit to ground. This is ground. Stand by.
So we are going to want to be facing to the north, basically. This is a great this pushback. I usually use Pushback Express, especially for the Airbus here, but this is a very cool
Okay, sir.
freeware little add-on.
All doors and hatches
For
closed.
some reason,
All
I think
ground equipment is
this
removed.
audio does not work
The parking
on
brakes are set. You may lift.
in
Parking
VR.
brake set. Lifting the aircraft.
Look at this, the aircraft, look, we're actually rising up. It's hard to tell maybe, but we're actually being lifted.
Standing by for pushback.
So I can release the parking brake.
Please set parking brakes.
It's because it thinks it doesn't want us to. I want us to actually go ahead.
Cockpit to ground. Go ahead. We are cleared for start and push. Okay, cleared for push start. Parking brakes are released. Commencing pushback. You can start the engines in sequence. It will start in the sequence.
Okay, we'll get the ignition switch on, and we will start engine number 2. APU bleed is already on. Switch this to the electrical page down there. Are all of our doors actually closed? That's one thing that I... Yep. Okay, good. That used to be an issue with the fly-by-wire. The doors would just stay open for way too long for some reason. And I love that I can now just control my rudder to turn us. That's engine moves 2, starting engine 1.
Okay, pushback completed. Please set your parking brake. Parking brake set. Parking brake set. Lowering aircraft.
This is kind of cool. That's what the one thing Pushback Express does not do. It does not lower and lift
sir.
the aircraft, which is kind of cool.
Pin has been removed. See you at the side. Have a good flight. Holding position, waiting for the visual. Thank you and goodbye.
Set our altitude. Cruising altitude will be 38,000 feet. Our taxi lights on, nav lights on. Should have had the nav lights on a while ago, actually. Everything up top looks good. We will be taking off in a flaps 1, and we will arm the ground spoilers. We are running off of engines 1 and 2, both generators. Now we can turn the APU off. Let's do a quick flight controls check just to make sure. Got full down, full up, neutral, full left, full right, neutral, and full left rudder, full right rudder. Okay, good. I think we're set with that. Let's get taxiing. We're just going to taxi straight down this taxiway ahead of us. Will take us all the way to the holding area for runway 16. See, what else do we need to do? Otherwise, I think we are pretty much all set. We've got strobes and landing lights to come. We've got the altimeter set. We have our altitude set. Auto brake needs to go to max. Oh, that's not the button. This is it. Auto brake max. Let's do the takeoff config test. That's not it. Come on. This is why I hate using mice in the cockpit, because everything moves around. Takeoff config is normal. We are all good. Get ourselves lined up, and I gotta switch a map around. Have a quick look at the VatSim map to see if we need to announce our departure to anybody. There's usually a couple of planes flying around here, so... Alright, taxi lights off, landing lights on, strobes on. All of our lights are set. Nope, doesn't look very busy here at all, so probably don't need to worry about that. So, let's get ourselves lined up on the runway and get good to go then. Oh, TCAS is on standby still. That's one thing I need to change. Did I actually add this to something? No. Okay, let's lean over real quick. TCAS Auto TARA. Okay, now we're set. Just that, yeah, I think we are actually set. Let's go for it. We use Toga because we don't know what flex temp to use. Man, Toga SRS. Auto thrust blue. Runway track. We're way off the center of the runway line here, but that's okay. 120. 130 and rotate. Positive rate, gear up. There's Melbourne over there. Let's get ourselves in the climb. Detent. There we go. Auto thrust is on. Autopilot. AP1. Auto thrust. Thrust climb. Nav. Good. I think I can look out the window for a moment. Flaps are still to come. Look at the weather over Melbourne. It looks like it's just pouring rain over there. Those are some 4K rain clouds over there. Okay, we are still on with the flaps, so we will now go flaps up. Speed has been checked. And we can disarm ground spoilers. Ecam is memo clear except for seatbelts, which is what we want. We're about to make our turn here, but that's all in the clouds. This is live weather at the moment. There she goes. This plane does fly like a beauty, though, I will say that. I have actually not flown this since the last time we did our last Australian flight, which is a couple of weeks ago now because some Destiny stuff got in the way. So it has been a little while. But it is actually always a pleasure to fly this aircraft. Especially when I'm not flying in VR, because even in VR it's not bad, but... Wait, you bleed us on. We don't need that anymore. Starting to break through the clouds. Oh, look at this. I love that transition from heavy rain and clouds in the simulator to blue skies. Why did it just switch us to speed? What happened there? It's odd. I want it. 38,000. That's odd. Over 10,000 standard pressure set. That is weird that we for a moment lost the altitude. And then it just defaults to like a, well, it just keeps the current pitch and climb that we had going. We're accelerating now to 290 knots, indicated airspeed. Nope, to look through. Once we reach our cruising altitude, we can start talking about the descent, which is ironic, but I'm not sure how long. I don't think this is too long of a flight. UTC 332, what is the current time? 2:32, okay, so about an hour. Alright. That will actually fit pretty much right into our 2-hour window here. So we got off the ground pretty quick. I wasn't sure if we were going to have any issues, since it had been so long since I've flown it. Again, this sometimes changes the altitude. It just like knocks it down by a bit. I've noticed it somewhere else. It's got to be... not sure what it is. I feel like some of the engine sounds are new. Sound a little bit different from last time. I like them. Just gonna review my before or after takeoff checklist. Gear is up. Flap 0. Autopilot is on. We are all good. Just checking if we missed anything on the start. I did miss the turning off the APU bleed, and I did forget to turn the nose light on until we were actually up there. Speaking of nose lights, we can turn all those lights off. Except for the beacon, strobe, and nav. There we go, good. That's looking right. Belts on, no smoking is on auto, and the exit lighting is armed. Good. There's actually not much to flying this Airbus if once you're familiar with the systems, and you are able to get familiar with how the controls work, how the systems work, really. It does literally fly itself, but you still have to tell it what to do. You have to tell it correctly what to do. And then when you're trying to land, it's all about managing the speed and the descent properly. I love how colorful Australia is. You get a lot of the red stuff in there that you don't see in a lot of other places. There's a perfect example of the colorful fields there. Different shades of green, red, brown. It's pretty. How's everything looking? Just crossing flight level 285. Climbing pretty steadily. Nice and steady, nice and comfy for the passengers. So I've been doing all my flights in VR except for when I stream this stuff. The only time now that I fly in 2D is if I'm doing this with the intent of walking away, like doing it while I'm doing something else. Like if I'm working on some other like web content or something on the other computer beside this one, then I'll do it like this so I can just, you know, glance over and see where I'm at. But otherwise, I've been doing all my flying in VR. It's just such a cool experience, and I've got quite the... I finally got everything worked out, so it's pretty smooth. Hey, MOBA. How's it going? Yeah, it's... I do love these toys. Thanks. Yeah, I got a bunch of different things going on at the same time here. It's a little hard to fit them all into the camera, but I've got the Thrustmaster Airbus flight stick down here on the left, which, you know, I use just when flying the Airbus. Stream Deck, which is kind of handy because you can get some cool stuff going with that. Honeycomb Alpha. Got some Logitech button panels at the bottom. Honeycomb Bravo for the throttle quadrant. And then a bunch of stuff that I bought early on that I don't really necessarily need anymore, but I also don't want to stop using. So I've got the Logitech radio panel and autopilot panel, which I don't really use very much at all. Mostly because I have a little that's probably hidden here by the yoke. Real sim gear, a small autopilot unit that I like much better because it has dedicated knobs instead of having to switch like in the Logitech autopilot panel. And then this one here I love. Probably one of my second favorite items is the VR Insight Airbus EFIS FMCU and COM panel. This one's really cool because it is very similar to the one that's actually in the aircraft. And I've got dedicated knobs for altitude, speeds, all of it, and it's all just, you know, it all matches up directly with what's in the airplane. And then I still have this X-Touch Mini over here, which is amazing value. The thing is like 80 bucks or something, if that, and you can really configure it, and it's got eight dials, something like 16 configurable buttons, and a switch, so it's actually doubled that. It has like 64 buttons or something like that in total. It's crazy. But the thing that I almost love the most, my most favorite thing, is just on this side over here, the Cockpit Master CDU. And it now works with the Airbus, the CJ4, and the CRJ. Which means I just have... I'm trying to avoid ever having to click anything in the cockpit with a mouse because it is such a pain. It does look like a TI calculator. Yeah. Absolutely. It's a little bit bigger than that actually, but it's really cool because just having the, you know, like it's harder to show on the physical side, but obviously if I change the camera a bit down to the CDU unit here, it's really nice being able to use physical buttons to switch these things around. It makes, in fact, probably now is not a bad time to do that. It really helps with entering things. So, for example, let's figure out our top of descent here. So, it's quick math, because the A320 doesn't have any VNAV yet. Looks like our ultimate point here that we want to be down to is 3270. But really, I think Bracky... Actually, Gully is when we do our... That's where the approach starts, but I think Bracky is probably the one we want to focus on. So that's 9,000 feet. We're cruising at 38,000 feet. Some simple descent math. 38 minus 9 is 29 times 3. Let's just call it 90. We'll add another 5 because we're going to have to slow down. So let's say 95 nautical miles outside of Bracky. So I can go to Nevis. I can set a fix info for Bracky, and this is where it's so much nicer to be able to use physical keys. Bracky, and I set 95 mile radius. So there we go. If I zoom out a bit on our ND, there we go. There's our radius around Bracky. So pretty much just before we reach the Duke's waypoint is when we're going to start descending We'll descend down to 9,000 and we'll manage it after that from there. And it is so nice to be able to push physical buttons. It's so much better than having to, especially because I like using either, like I said, VR or track IR, and having to use the mouse and trying to keep your head steady. It's annoying. And I always end up zooming in or out by accident somehow. It's a real pain. So having that is, it's all worth the money, for me anyway. Do you fly flight sims, MOBA? Nope. It's a hobby that I didn't get into until when did I start? Well, when Flight Simulator 2020 came out, which was the summer that the pandemic started. So it kind of all worked out. I mean, I've played flight simulators in the past, very little. Ascent Free Space, not a flight sim per se, but it is kind of sim-ish. I mean, it's got 6 axes or more, right? So it's adjacent, flight sim adjacent. I did not expect, honestly, that I was going to sink this much time, money, and enjoyment into Flight Simulator when I first picked it up. But I was like instantly hooked. I bought a little bit of flight gear originally, some Logitech stuff, some of which I've sold, some of it I'm still using, before the simulator even came out. And I was lucky by being so excited and buying stuff early. I was fortunate because it meant that by the time it came out and everybody was trying to buy it and the pandemic had just started and everything was so rare to get, I had gear already. So that was good. And then I just loved the graphics and the freedom, and I started flying around the world, and I still have about 70 countries to go. We've reached our cruising altitude now, so we're cruising now at flight level 380, 38,000 feet at Mach 0.782.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again from the flight deck, your captain speaking. We've just reached our cruising altitude for the flight. As it begins to settle in, I do want to remind you to please keep your feet and elbows clear from the aisle, as the flight attendants will be coming through the cabin with galley carts shortly. Also, one more reminder to please refrain from congregating with the front galley where the flight deck door is located. Thank you.
Well, yeah, it's also, I could see that. It does require, well, not necessarily patience, but it's like, it can be pretty slow paced. It can be very exciting. There's lots to learn. Like I ended up learning so much stuff. I am a bit older now though. Like I'm in my early 40s now, so I'm kind of like, this is my therapy. I think somebody described it like this in a Reddit post or something that I saw. Especially when I'm flying in VR, it's like I leave all the stress of work and real life behind me and I just go and I fly. And I find that more relaxing than playing like a shooter or something. Like my other big game that I play is Destiny 2, and I still enjoy that for the social aspect. But it's very different. But it's definitely not everybody's speed. Like some people will look at the screen and be like, this is boring, we're just cruising around. But to me, I enjoy it. I just like look out and it's like, look at this beautiful world, and you know, I'm able to fly this thing because I know what all of these buttons do. That's not entirely true, but I know what a lot of these buttons do. And I've had a lot of fun just watching people explain these things on YouTube, and even watching like real world pilots in their planes. It's cool. Yeah, mowing the lawn is kind of similar. You're pushing, it's relaxing. It kind of probably drowns out background noise, you know, where you're listening to music or something in headphones or whatever. It's the same kind of thing. And it's funny because when I started this, I'm like, in real life I have always been a nervous flyer. I didn't like, and I don't know if I like it anymore now, but I never liked flying. I always got anxious before the flight, during the flight, anytime there was a small bump, you know, it was not a fun time for me at all. I suspect that's different now. I mean, I haven't flown in a few years, so I don't know for sure. But I kind of get the sense that I would be more relaxed now because I feel like I understand more about how this works. But I find it incredibly relaxing. I love spending time on this. And there's such a big ecosystem and community around the simulator, whether it is add-ons like this fly-by-wire plane we're in now, or you know, all the community around all the hardware even, because a lot of this hardware stuff is like, for example, I use a piece of software called VatSim, which controls all this equipment, because natively in the flight sim, I think the joystick and the yoke and the throttle, they work, and I think maybe one of the panels, but that's it. Like none of the other stuff works in the game without additional software. But VatSim is a cool piece of software, and the guy behind it who makes it, you know, there's a Discord and people talk about it and you can program everything, and I'm a developer by trade, so that kind of scratches some of my itches, and I like that. And it's just lots of cool little things like that add them all together. I love it. Love spending time with it. The one thing that I'm still not learning really, I know how VatSim works, and we are flying on VatSim at the moment, and I should have a look and see, but I don't think there's not much on as far as ATC coverage at the moment. I still feel intimidated a little bit by the prospect of speaking with real life people that will tell me how and where to fly the plane. But I think that will change with more practice. I just got to do it more. But like, I've gotten involved with a virtual airline now, which is essentially the flight sim equivalent of a clan or a guild from MMOs or other games. So in other words, I've found a bunch of other old farts and young ones that are into flight simming, which is kind of cool. And I enjoy just doing this flight sim Thursday nights. probably have a couple more flights here in Australia to go. We'll have to see how far we can get from here afterwards. I wanted to get to Perth. I think that's my... That is the... Oh yeah, no, we're not even close. Western Australia is huge. I guess we'll probably stick to the coast. Yeah, we'll have to stick to the coast and probably make... Oh, we're gonna have to stop in Kalgoorlie, because I know that from... I don't know why I know that name, but I do know it. Kalgoorlie. We might be able to make one flight to there. We'll see. Maybe if we really, really book it next week. Yeah, I highly recommend it, even if you're just... The other great thing is it's on Game Pass, so if you have that, it's like... it's no investment at all, basically, to try it out. And it's also not going anywhere. Like, this is the kind of game that will stick around for a long time. Microsoft, you know, they've always... The flight simulators have always been like a platform for add-ons, third-party planes, expansions. And it's got the whole world, so there's lots and lots of time for them to improve things, add, you know, new scenery and all that stuff. So there's no rush. Yeah, I mean, some of the visuals are, yeah, exactly. They have done scenery upgrades in some areas. But because the world is so large, like even the stuff that they have done, there's still room for improvement. Heck, you could spend tens of thousands of dollars on just third-party scenery and landscapes if you wanted to. There's other companies out there that make it, that sell it. There's some free versions, which are handy. And then Microsoft always does their world updates. They always do two different updates. They do a sim update pretty much once a month, and then they do a world update on alternating months. World update usually has, you know, new content, improved sceneries, cities mostly, landscapes, landmarks rather. So famous landmarks get more detailed. And then the sim updates are just patches and new improvements, maybe new airplanes. One of the things I can't wait for is there's a couple of big companies currently working on new airliners. PMDG working on their Boeing 737 series that should be coming out. I don't know when. It's in beta, I guess. So hopefully that means soon-ish, in the next couple of months. Obviously this fly-by-wire A320neo keeps getting better and better. There's a couple of other Airbuses under development from other teams. But I think most people are looking forward to that PMDG Boeing. And I really should fly the other PMDG plane that I have. I should fly that again. It's the DC-6. It's like one of those old 4-engine prop planes. Beautifully done model too in the game. Very, very different to fly. Much more complex than this. Okay, so here we go now. The CDU is actually telling us enter destination data, so we should probably start doing that. We are coming up on our fixed radius there that we set up. Okay, so our destination data for Adelaide, ILS 23 Yankee, we will want the QNH and the temperature. QNH 1019, 21 degrees, 1019, and again, so much easier to type it in, 21 degrees. Wind 260 degrees, 8 knots, 260/8. It will be a full flaps landing. Now I just need to find my chart. Switch over to Navigraph. I've got my chart here. What is our minimum decision altitude? 270 feet. So we'll get that in there. 270 on the Barrow. That is our CDU fully configured for the approach, so we're good with that. Still got, how far do we have to go to Dukes? 63, 1030. No, we got about 39 miles to Dukes. So judging by that dotted line there, we're looking at probably 37 or so miles until we want to start descending. So we'll get there soon. I just spotted some ATC on VatSim online there, but I think that is, yeah, it's Melbourne approach, so it's where we came from. So that's not going to do us any good. All right, let's, it's a beautiful coastline down there. Wonder if those are some good beaches. Lots of sharks. So, 9,000 is going to be our target there that we're going to go for, and then 3270 after that. How many miles between 8, 6, 14, 18? That should be no problem. Okay, so let's put in 9,000. And how close are we here? Close enough, I think. I'd rather be down a bit early than too late. So let's go ahead and do a Managed descent. So thrust is going to idle, engine spooling back. I know people can't wait to get VNAV in this plane, but it's really not that bad to try to do this by hand. I suppose the one thing that's convenient about a VNAV is you just punch in your approach fix, your final approach fix altitude kind of thing, and just let it ride. This requires a little bit more thinking, but not too much.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you may have noticed, we have begun our initial descent down to our destination. Now would be a good time to wrap up any business you need to take care of as we prepare for approach. If you are up, once you return to your seat, we ask that you remain seated until the aircraft arrives safely at the gate. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival.
These cabin announcements are also new, and I quite like them. Turn off the airports. We'll instead turn on constraints. Hey, BetMoba, have a good evening. Thank you. Thanks for hanging out. Quite the view. Alright, let's have a look at our arrival here. It's pretty straightforward. Just veer off a bit to the right, step down, left turn, straight in. So it's a nice and straightforward approach. We should have good luck here. Already descending very nicely. We're actually well ahead of our desired altitude. In fact, I think I'm going to change it to 11,000 here, just so that we don't slow down too much, because as soon as we get below 10,000, the Airbus is going to slow us down to 250 knots, and I don't want to slow down too much just yet. Well, you know what? We've got lots of time. Let's just do it. We'll enjoy the scenery on a nice casual flight at 9,000 feet. So one thing, without VNAV, it doesn't quite hit the altitudes. I'm just, I'm doing guesswork, and I'd rather be ahead of the airplane. So at this rate, it looks like we're going to be at 9,000, probably a good 20 miles before we need to be. But that's okay, because after that, we do have to slow down to 230 knots. Just weird, I don't see that on the CDU, but it is on the, it's on the ND there at Omden, 230 knots. Don't see that down here. Strange. Besides, this way we can look out the window a little bit more if we're slowing down early. See, we're slowing down now. Time to set our altimeter. We want 1019. Cross set, cross checked. It's really just below 9,000. It doesn't have to be 9,000 exact, so we can actually start descending down to like 4,000 or 32. We need to be 3,270. Again, we're going to be a little bit early. That's okay. I've usually been flying the Airbus with the help of the FS2 crew, fly-by-wire Copilot, basically, which is a great little app. Adds a lot of immersion, but I had some troubles with it last time, so I figured for this one it was just going to be safer. I'm just going to be flying this all by myself. So it's actually, part of it's actually a bit more fun too. You get to do more stuff. So on the initial approach and landing, the software would have taken care of setting the flaps, for example, and doing the gear down and various things like that, but it's not like it's terribly difficult for me to do that either, so So we're at 9,000 already. It's cruising along at 250 knots. Our next altitude change, we will go down to we'll go down to 3,200. Well, we'll do 4,000 in a little bit, and then we'll do the last little step once we're ready for landing and for capturing the ILS and the glide slope. We're going to be arriving a bit early, so the stream will probably be a bit short today, but that's okay. We've gone over a bit last time. What I will do is I will turn on the landing system. We're still a ways out, but we'll get that on. The PFD at the bottom there, just all we see is the 222. That's just the actual heading, I think, of the runway, which is weird. I'm not sure why it's 222. Actually, no, that's not the heading. Never mind. I don't know what that is. That will change to the actual ILS heading and course once we get closer. That's just so pretty. And I actually really like this livery. I painted this one myself. WestJet does not actually have this, they don't fly the A320. Okay, there we go now. The ILS frequency 109.7, India Alpha Delta, 26 miles out. Alright, let's go down to 4,000. We also forgot to do our landing lights. Now we are slowing down to 230. Thanks for the follow, Zohar26. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to Shacknews. And very soon, welcome to Adelaide, Australia. We're just about to begin our approach here. Actually, a little bit We're not high, we're probably okay, but we are a little bit above where I thought we were going to be at this point. And it's always because of the speed that messes me up. I forget about having to slow down. You can't really slow down the airplane while also descending, so a lot of, especially with the autopilot, it will basically just stop descending until it has reached the desired speed, and then it will just continue to descend after that. So once we get down to 4,000, we'll pop it into approach mode, approach phase rather, which will then slow us down. Manage is 230. I guess we're already at 230, so we confirm that. Activate the approach. We're just going to slow us down some more. Rats. Okay, I'm just going to help out with these speed brakes a bit. A little bit of speed brakes, so that we reach that speed faster, so we can start descending again more quickly. There we go. Because now we do have to get down. Approach arm, glide slope, star, low star, still too high. So if I hit the speed brakes a bit more, is he going to descend us faster? Not really. Flaps 1. No, that was too early. Loke. And we get the glide slope. That's really the main thing. Oh, I guess the glide slope's not until... Oh, we got time till the glide slope, do we? A little bit. Okay, glide slope is armed. Oops, that's too much, sorry. Why are we not slowing down more, though? I need you to slow down, plane. Strange that it's not doing it. A really hard time getting her to slow down. That's very weird. Why? $1,000. Gear down will help a bit with that, with the speed. It's a long runway, so we can try to burn off some more speed here. We've got the speed brakes out full and hard. We're coming in high and fast, but we are getting better now.
500.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
Yeah, we're fine.
Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain. Too low, terrain.
Minimum.
Too low, terrain.
I don't know what is bitching
Too
about
low,
terrain. There's no
terrain.
terrain issues.
Too low, terrain.
100.
Unless the
Too
altimeter
low,
is way
terrain.
off, because we're looking
Too
fine
low,
here.
terrain.
20. Retard. 5.
Nothing wrong with that. I don't know why I kept yelling about terrain. Not too sure why it was doing that. Nothing wrong at all. Didn't quite make that exit there. We'll just have to go to the next one. Well, that whole approach was a little bit spicy. Usually the Airbus manages to speed better. I just wonder if that slope was... I guess we were too high, so it just could never quite catch up. Still salvaged it, though. I think that was a decent... It felt like a... Not a super smooth landing, but... Find ourselves a gate to park over there, and we are, well, we're about almost half an hour ahead of schedule, but that's okay. I've had a long day, so we'll take it. Actually, maybe we'll spend a couple minutes. We'll actually get, see if we can get a gate with a gangway and actually connect it. Let the people deplane. See the parking lot. See another plane over there. There's got to be some terminals over there. Don't have the chart for this airport bookmarked, but that is one of the maybe we'll go this way. That is actually one of the improvements that Fly-by-Wire is working on right now that I'm excited about. Is they're going to add some improvements to the charts on the FlyPad on this iPad over here. So that should be cool. So that'll be very handy to be able to pin charts to that. Buzzy B 111, thanks for the follow. Hello, how are you? Look at that. We found the terminal. Now can we find ourselves a gate that actually has an open spot? There's one right there. Why don't we take that one? Oh, we'll go one further over there. Everybody's just watching on the website quietly, I guess. We'll head to one of the gates over there. I want to go right where that bus is. The bus is kind of in the way. The flight tracker on the left is... bear with me for a moment. I want to make sure I tell it to you correctly. It's a small piece of software. I think it's called Fly Studio. And it lets you build little templates, actually, for... you know, the information that you want to display there. It reads them from the simulator via FSU IPC. So it's kind of neat. DXB to EWR. What is that? I'm more familiar with ICAO codes. Is that in Germany to England somewhere? Yeah, I think you can basically download it and follow the instructions. Oh, okay, so that's Baghdad. I'm familiar with that, I think, right? Or Dubai, sorry. Dubai to Newark. That's a heck of a flight. That would be cool. What plane are you planning on flying for that? .77W. In which simulator? In X-Plane or Flight Sim? Really? So who's making the B77W? Oh, Captain Sim. Okay. I have not heard such great things about Captain Sim, but okay, with salty stuff. Okay, I have used salties for the 747, like the stock 747 and the salty mod, and that has been good. So, okay, that makes more sense then. Let's see if we can we get the passengers door connected here? I'm guessing this terminal doesn't actually work, eh? Let's get the APU running before I turn off the engines here. And I think we can actually go it's in the AOC menu for under the weights. I think we can. I thought that there was a way to actually. I don't want to start boarding. I want to. I want to get people off the plane, not on the plane. Yeah, give me 1 sec. I will do that. Maybe these will only open with the engines off. The lights off. Okay, well, I'm not entirely sure why this won't work, but yeah, I do have a full setup here. Okay, so this is called, I may have given you the wrong place. Okay, it's called Fly Live. Fly Live Studio is what it is called. Does this have a link? It's made by Fly Apps. Fly Live Studio. Look for that. I think it might be. It was not a super professional looking website. It's honestly been a while since I downloaded it. Let me just check on my phone. Fly Live Studio. Yeah, it's flyapps.weebly.com or flyliveapp.weebly.com. Yep. It's free, and you know, it basically just reads some stats. Like if you've ever done any kind of website building or anything like that, it's very simple. You just drop things on it, and then you know, for OBS, you just put it in as a browser view because it gives you a URL on your local machine. It's really handy. It's nice for, I think it's nice for streaming. Plus, of course, you can make it look whatever way you want, whatever suits your stream. I'm not flying any Boeings until PMDG comes out with their 737. That's what I'm really looking forward to the most. Okay, so I cannot figure out how to get these people off the plane, which is kind of annoying. I don't know why this gate won't connect to it. I feel like it should be able to. I was talking about it earlier. I'm kind of hoping it will be in the next couple of months. I feel like when a company says that they're in beta, and they gave an update last week or a few days ago saying that things were going pretty well and they were making progress as they were expecting, you know, I'm hoping sometime before May would be nice. $30. It might be more than that. I suspect it's going to be more than $30, but yeah, I agree. I think it looks pretty cool. I'm going to have to learn Boeing systems again because I'm very comfortable with the Airbus systems and the Airbus autopilot, but honestly not as comfortable with the Boeing stuff. It's a bit different, just the terminology and all that stuff. But yeah, it really just depends on, I guess, what you... I think there's a lot of people that prefer Boeing over Airbus and vice versa. For me, it doesn't, you know... I mean, I learned more of the Airbus because the fly-by-wire, honestly, was better than the stock Boeings in the game. Even with Salty, the 747 is just a huge plane, and because they're still, the autopilots are just like, a little iffy. I like the 787. It's a beautiful plane. I kind of wish it was it worked a little bit better. Yeah, the heavy division mod makes it better, but it's still not. I don't know. It still has the occasional issues. And that's one of the reasons I like the fly-by-wire, because for the most part it's rock solid. It's very, very stable, flies well. Doesn't really have any crazy issues. So I'm kind of hoping that the PMDG 737 is going to be just that. You know, it will be a high-quality Boeing airplane without stupid flight systems and autopilot issues that we've seen in the default ones. So, all right. Well, it looks like passengers have decided not to get out. They're just going to stay on until we do our next flight. That's fine by me. If they'd like to stay, they can stay. We'll get her shut down here, and we are going to get out of here for the day. There we go. Plane is dark. And thank you everybody who came, hung out for a while. Thank you for joining the stream. If you're new to Shacknews, don't forget to check us out at shacknews.com. Way more than just my flight sim streams. All kinds of great gaming content. And we now have something called Shack Pets. If you're looking for a cool social app on your phone that pairs off your pets against other people's pets in battles of cuteness, you should check it out. You can find all the links. It's available for iOS and Android. You can find all the links at shackpets.com. And hopefully if you subscribed or followed, I'll be back next week at the same time, Thursday evening, 6 p.m. Pacific. And we're going to continue flying in Australia. It's been beautiful so far. The weather's been great. Flights have been smooth. Haven't had much VatSim coverage, but we've had a good time the last two flights. So we'll continue next week. And thanks for everybody that was new. Hope to see you again soon. Take care of yourselves and have a great week. Bye, folks.